Dope. Solid. Okay. All right. So what do you do? I'm a saxophone player. Oh, cool. Dope, dope, dope. Alto or tenor? Alto. Nice. I'd love to check you out sometime. Where do you play? My apartment, actually. I like to keep it local, as they say. Oh, gotcha. I see, I see. So it's kind of a hobby? It's not a hobby per se. It's like, okay, what do you actually do? Like for work? I'm an investment banker. Oh, gotcha. I see. So that was a conversation I had multiple times in New York City. And every time I had it, I could feel my credibility drop precipitously the moment I essentially confessed to being an investment banker. Of course, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with being an investment banker, but what didn't come across was that from the way I teed it up, there was just a level of shame that I projected in a sense that I wasn't fully integrated. I was in a funk, I was in a fog. And three things lifted this fog. The first was music and getting immersed in playing the saxophone. The second was a book, a strange book that I believe altered my neurochemistry, and that's Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse, the same guy who wrote Siddhartha. And the third event is less abstract, but was deeply powerful. And that was the birth of my son, Maxwell. So I'm sitting in the delivery room with Maxwell resting on my chest, on my bare chest. We're skin to skin. He smells absolutely delicious. It's that newborn baby smell. And a thought comes to me as a whisper that 9 months is an infinity. And this thought just rapidly evolves from a thought to a knowing. In these moments, I know that 9 months is an infinity. And talk is cheap. But what's not cheap is quitting a job at the highest paying investment bank in New York City because your concept of time has fundamentally shifted. And that's what I did. So 4 weeks after Maxwell was born, I quit my job for the unknown. What followed next was a period of introspection rooted in the knowledge that being reactive hadn't worked out for me. The 1-year plan hadn't worked out for me. The 3-year plan hadn't worked out for me. The 5-year plan hadn't worked out for me. So I wanted to viscerally know a 50-year plan. It was a tall order. So I looked to my past for a common thread of insight. I'd gone to nursing school. I had been registered as a nurse in Pennsylvania. I had then been a globe-trotting management consultant, jet setting. Had done a stint in Africa as a development advisor. And then I'd gone to law school, became a corporate lawyer, became a member of the New York Bar, and then became an investment banker for a few years, / alto saxophonist, in my pajamas. And during this period of reflection, I would become certified as a personal trainer with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I've been wearing sweatpants for months now. My friends joke about it all the time, actually. But so I looked at this thread and I asked myself, what insights could I glean from all of this? The thing that jumped out to me was that in these social systems and institutions that I'd been a part of, there were people who were deeply fulfilled and had this sense of being more fully integrated. And there was a name for them. We call them superstars. And I always knew who the superstars were. I always knew who they were. And everyone else did too. All you had to do was be in a social system or organization for 6 months to a year and ask anyone, who are the superstars? And they just rattle off a list of names. It's like they were running an algorithm in their minds. And I became intensely curious about that. What is this algorithm? What is the superstar agenda? It was quite a journey, and when I look back to my past, I also realized that I wasn't sure what the superstar agenda was, but what I knew is what it wasn't. And I had this from first-hand experience. So I knew being a superstar had nothing to do with fame, being well-known. It had nothing to do with being a perfectionist and really nitpicky. Being rich didn't matter. Having fancy degrees and titles didn't matter. I had those. And many times I wasn't a superstar, right? So the other thing that I realized was that you can't just seamlessly transfer superstars from one social system to another and expect them to just magically become superstars. So even in highly specialized fields, so let's take corporate law, for example. The superstar mergers and acquisitions corporate lawyers in New York City in one law firm manifest differently from the superstar mergers and acquisitions lawyers in a second New York law firm. Yet they're all lawyers, they're all members of the New York bar, they're all corporate lawyers, have similar clients, live in similar neighborhoods, have similar friends, and do the exact same job. But they manifest differently. And so I was very curious about that. There was something about the relationship between individual psychological preferences and social systems that I was coming across. So armed with this intuition that there was something to this psychological, inherent individual nature and what you were doing, I decided to interview two groups of people, artists and entrepreneurs. With these groups, I felt that I could really understand this singularity between creator and what you did. Shortly after I began these interviews, I realized that the distinction I had made between artists and entrepreneurs was actually a false distinction. That all artists are entrepreneurs. That much I expected. What was interesting was that all entrepreneurs are also artists. And not in a general metaphorical sense, but in very specific, concrete ways. So let's take an example of Sue Phillips. Sue Phillips created the Tiffany & Barbary fragrances, and she immigrated to America to pursue a singing and acting career. Her first job was at Elizabeth Arden, where she was a trainer. They loved her because she had great stage presence and people presence. She ended up rising up the ranks, eventually created the Tiffany & Barbary fragrances. And nowadays, Sue creates entertaining experiences. So Sue takes her clients on scent-based journeys where you get to create your own fragrance. Sue uses her inherent artistic expression as a singer, actress, and tastemaker in a job that many of us might not consider to be artistic. What I realized was that what I noticed with Sue was the rule and not the exception. Every superstar I interviewed had this level of integration with their inherent creativity. And so I learned the following from interviews, research, and my own personal experiences. I understood what the superstar agenda is. And this is what it is. Essentially, the superstar agenda is when you have an amplified individuality as a superstar because of a resonance between your natural creative expression, what you do on a daily basis, and the environments that you inhabit. Amplified individuality refers to something that we notice in people, an instinct that we have about them, that there's more of them there. There's more of them reflected in their work. And it comes because of this synchronicity between their natural creative expression, what they do on a daily basis, and the environments that they inhabit. So what is natural creative expression? Natural creative expression refers to something that is inherent to all of us. Artistic modes and channels that we gravitate towards as creators. And we all have them. And so it's asking the question, would I be or have I been a poet or a sculptor or an actor or a model or a musical instrumentalist, a guitarist? And it's asking this question at a very specific level that's concrete and real. For many of us, engaging in the exercise of trying to understand our natural creative expression might feel like it's a stretch because we haven't defined ourselves in these terms in the past. I've been there. I tried a lot of professions. And it feels strange. And so perhaps a baby step is to ask, what type of creator am I? Can you give yourself the freedom to think of yourself as a creator? Just as a starting point. And it gets more fun, actually, because not only do we have an inherent artistic mode or channel that we gravitate towards, we have multiple channels. Just like Sue Phillips, actress, singer, tastemaker, coming together, becoming the queen of scent. And so I'd even amend what I just said earlier on and suggest to you that the question you should ask yourself is, am I a poet and an actor and a coach and a musical instrumentalist and a healer? What artistic ingredients come together to form your individualized, natural creative expression? When your natural creative expression is in sync with what you do on a daily basis, you experience a level of resonance that just makes you feel like you're naturally good at the thing that you do, almost like your job was made for you. And I just want to be clear, I'm talking about what you do on a daily basis and not fancy titles and job descriptions. We've all been there. You've been at a dinner party, or you meet someone for the first time, an acquaintance, and you ask them, what do you do? And they tell you a fancy title, sounds impressive. They rattle off a fancy job description, sounds complicated. But what the heck do you do? Like, I actually have no idea. Like, honestly, seriously, I don't know what you do. But you can't say that because everyone else seems to know what they do. No one does. Okay, no one knows. No one knows. Even usually the person saying it doesn't actually know what they do. So it's now reframing that to asking, how do you spend your time? And try this. Meet someone for the first time and ask them, how do you spend your time? I have witnessed powerful people, highly accomplished people, get really flustered at this very simple question of how do you spend your time? What do you mean, like for work or what do you mean? I mean, like how do you spend your time? So the resonance between your natural creative expression and what you do on a daily basis is necessary but insufficient for your full creative self-actualization. And that's because, as we saw with the corporate lawyers who are superstars in the M&A department, environment matters a lot. And that's the third pillar of the superstar agenda, is environment. And for environment, let's play a game. Let's play an imagination game. Games are fun. So let's imagine that you're a room. Let's imagine that you are a physical space. What do I find in this space? What happens when I walk up to the door, behind which is the space that personifies you, turn the knob, open the door, and step in? What do I find? Do I find jazz playing, soft bamboo floors, floor-to-ceiling windows, open to a tropical landscape with colorful birds and greenness, an orange couch, friends on the couch, talking, laughing, discussing the absurdities in their lives and of their lives, bourbon on the shelf? Well, that's the room that defines me. Clearly, it's highly elaborate. Thought about this. But what is that for you? What does that look like for you? What are the characteristics of your individualized ideal space? Can you give yourselves the freedom to think about that? Environment consists of the actual physical architecture of the place, the people in that space and how they interact. And generally, folks who are really performing and who are actively engaged and integrated with their truth in a creative sense have an integration with their environment. So what is your superstar agenda? What is your natural creative expression? What 3 to 5 specific artistic modes or channels do you gravitate towards? How do they come together? What does that mean for what you should do on a daily basis and how you should spend your time? Finally, what environments can reinforce that and give you energy and life? There's a paradox in all of this, and the paradox is that I realized that I had no choice but to create in line with my natural creative expression. I had no choice. But the decision to actually tap into my creative veins and draw life, and the courage to deliver my truth is my agency. Creating me is my freedom. I was in the process of quitting a job, and I did that a couple of times. And a superstar at the job said something to me that was inspiring, and I want to share it with you guys. He said, "You think the grass is green somewhere else? It is brown everywhere." Kennedy, you're leaving us to go to another job. You think the grass is green somewhere else? It is brown everywhere. It was a highly inspiring statement that inspired me to get the hell out of there even faster than I expected. Fast. You can be a superstar and be a total jerk. And you can be a superstar in a toxic environment. So that's agency in that too, how you choose to manifest. On one hand, conceptualizing superstar agenda and finding this integration has been deeply rewarding. On the other hand, I've accumulated debt that I'm very slowly paying down. Went from living in a high-end condo and eating at Michelin star restaurants to having a roommate eating cheap pizza by the slice. I haven't seen my parents or brother or sister in over 2 years. They live in Kenya. Although I did party pretty hard in Jamaica a little over a year ago. So let's just be honest. But it can get messy and complicated. And that's okay. It was Leonard Cohen, the poet and novelist and singer and musical instrumentalist, who said, "There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." So that's Maxwell now, all grown up at a little over 2 years old. I was giving him a bath actually 2 days ago and getting ready for bed. And he goes, "I'm a son." And I told him, "Yes, you are." And then he said, "You're a son." I told him, "Yes, I am." And then he said, "Daddy, you're a teacher." I told him, "Yes, I am." And then he said, "I'm a teacher too." And I said, "Yes, you are." And we all are. Each of us a son, each of us a teacher, and all of us multifaceted creative beings. Thank you.